no clothes. Yes, I'm speaking in metaphors and hyperbole and all that, but if you actually read The Emperor Has No Clothes, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But pretty much, if it comes to pass that, hey, Kaepernick's right, all these owners colluded, and then when it comes to the Eric Reid situation, to recap, you're not supposed to ask players if they're going to protest the anthem. That's not a part of their job requirement. That's actually illegal in terms of the whole job vetting experience, and allegedly, apparently, the Cincinnati Bengals asked him that when he went there for a visit. So Eric Reid probably knows his career's over. His brother fell all the way to the third round. And, well, yeah, the NFL's kind of they're up a certain creek without a paddle when it comes to PR and everything that's going on.
I think the biggest pushback of this all is that football and sports overall is sold as the ultimate meritocracy, and what we're finding is the
biggest
back channeling. The back channeling is finally being exposed into the light.
It's like the ultimate form of Game of Thrones.
Because, I mean, even Herschel Walker, he was quoted this week saying,
oh boy,
basically, he appreciates what Kaepernick did, but he already said he may or may not kneel when the team asked him. So clearly he doesn't really want to work that bad, because Walker compared it to his chicken restaurant that he owns, and that...
A chicken restaurant?
Yeah, I wasn't going to touch that one. I was going to leave it to you. But basically, what he said was...
You have my permission.
If someone that I'm going to hire at my chicken restaurant doesn't want to listen to me, then what am I supposed to do with that? Pretty much comparing it to Kaepernick and furthering the... just because that's the way it's always been, that's how it should be narrative, and stand in line and don't cause any ruckus and don't use your platform to help people if it's going to take money out of your mouth.
And Pete can't do this, so I'll do it. Pretty much, Massa says shut up and tend to the fields. And for anyone who doesn't still get it, pretty much Herschel Walker compared Colin Kaepernick pretty much taking in the civil disobedience against like white supremacy and the murdering of innocent people by cops and police brutality. He compared that to his chicken restaurant.
Well,
that probably doesn't even have a good sign.
Even bigger than
probably
that,
don't even have good biscuits.
Even bigger than that, he's compared, like you said, civil disobedience to insubordination. Those aren't the same thing, right? Because insubordination, it has to do with what work. Civil obedience is, I know what I'm breaking a rule, but I'm doing it for a reason, because the rule is not just.
There you go.
The other way is just like, I don't like what you're telling me to do, so I'm not going to do it.
It's like tucking your shirt. I don't want to. It's not. This is not that. That's a false equivalency. That Herschel Walker.
Well, besides that, it's not Kaepernick saying, I don't want to run your offense. That's more insubordination. Getting audible and changing it every time your coach gives you a play.
I'm gonna check.
That's insubordination. Like, but saying I'm not going to stand for a national anthem when there's no rule saying that I need to stand for the national anthem
in the country or in the sport,
and I have a reason to do it, a just reason that people are behind and supporting, that's not the same thing as, hey, I'm just not going to do this because I don't want to do it.
And there's literally like civil, like there's federal case. There's a federal case on the books, and it got to the Supreme Court. You don't have to stand for the national anthem. You literally can just sit there and do nothing. You have that right.
That's literally what makes this country so great, is that you can.
I think it was in a... Well, let's not say this one. Let's not go that route.
All right, let's not go this route where you say we don't live in a great country.
Do we? I mean, we're on the brink of nuclear... No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, stop, bro.
I was joking. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Anywhere is nice. Anywhere is bad. It's a mixture of both.
Go live in Puerto Rico, bro.
You act like this is not... First off, you just...
Go live in, man.
That
you don't
doesn't
even
help anything.
I know,
Puerto
but
Rico's
I'm just saying.
Its
I'm
own
just
country.
saying.
So
I'm just saying. You personally are okay.
Are you sure about that in this country?
You're not. Okay? I mean, you're not living in. You're not living in Flint.
I've been hassled by police my whole life.
We all have.
No, we all haven't. You and I have, but I'm saying. Bottom line is, it's bad, and if you just dismiss things, and it's part of the NFL, why people have all these issues. If you just say, "Oh, everything's fine," we don't need to worry about it.
It's not fine. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying it could be worse.
Yeah, but
or okay.
It's still bad. It's like the ending of Avengers. It could be worse, but it's still bad.
No, we're not at the ending of Avengers yet. Unfortunately,
we're at midway
we'll
point?
be there. We'll be there, and then we'll be there, and then you'll say, "You know what? I wish I could go back to that point when things weren't this bad, and we were just sitting in the good news radio station having a nice little chat, not worrying about a bomb being dropped on us."
Well, I mean, that could happen at any second, so I try not to.
I mean, it could happen at any second, but there's no imminent threat of it at this exact particular moment.
It's just not.
But yeah, when that imminent moment comes, you can probably catch us on our speaker channel where we'll be live broadcasting and just getting all our shit out there.
End of the world, Pete's
slandering everybody.
Pete's just gonna finally admit that he's really afraid.
No, I'll finally just leave all my slander out there for the Silver Run blog. Literally, like 20 years of just stuff I've wanted to get off my chest.
For every blogging site that did you dirty.
Pretty much. But yeah.
Damn. That's a lot of blogging sites.
Shut your ass up.
That includes school publications too.
You don't get 1,000 blog posts without
making a few enemies?
Yeah, pretty much.
You put the pen to pad and sometimes you get enemies.
All right, man. So the next thing I want to talk about, next topic of the week, Mike James, free agent running back.
Who? Mike James.
Yeah.
You knew I was going to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, since we're in Cali, I have to talk about it.
He went to Florida, if I'm not mistaken.
And basically, he applied for an exemption for medicinal cannabis under the NFL, saying that he needed it for therapeutic reasons, opposed to painkillers, which he found himself getting relying on.
Which actually causes a severe opioid addiction compared to, medical marijuana. And it's natural herb healing.
Yeah, basically the NFL said, nah, bruh.
Nah, you good. You can either take the painkillers we give you that are killing you painfully, or you can just not play. So guess what? He's probably never going to play again. And he was already a fringe roster player anyway. He's
actually a free agent right now. I think he was a 6th-round pick in 2013.
Yeah, but I'm saying he was already he'd probably have to play special teams and a bunch of other stuff just to get on the field. He's that kind of a player. So he's probably done for.
I think the issue.
Say you only get 3 years in the league.
And what Max Kellerman said, one of the GOATs, what he said is it's an issue because you have the NFL saying, no, you can't do this, which medical research has proven and shown that medicinal cannabis is a lot better for you than opioids, because opioids do cost a bunch of side effects and they're highly addictive. They're way more addictive, way more side effects than weed. That's the first issue. Number 2, you're basically ignoring that research and saying, hey, we should stick with the status quo. And that's really the biggest issue that the NFL is overall having, right? Like we talked about before. We're seeing the back channeling. We're seeing the dark side of the league shown in the light. And pretty much that's what is going on with this whole medicinal cannabis thing, because they know what's going on, but they're just staying with the status quo instead of really trying to innovate and trying to move this forward towards popular culture. And that's really the issue of the NFL, is they're just stuck doing the same thing.
They're a corporation, and corporations are technically people and technically sociopaths. But are technically protected by the law.
Even besides that, I read somewhere else.
Bennett Omalu.
I read somewhere else that 80% of corporations aren't even testing for weed anymore because they realize how how small that pool is of people that don't smoke weed, especially because it's legal in like 29 states. Legal as in either medical or recreational. I think it's like recreational use in like 6 states.
It's not federally legal, but it's legal state to state. So,
which is another issue
within itself, because
it's categorized as it shouldn't be.
And it's essentially saying, "Oh, you're a criminal.
It's a narcotic.
You're a criminal in the NFL because you smoke weed, and in the NBA, you failed a piss test."
And I think the worst part is, right?
That's the problem. You're criminalized for failing a drug test in the NFL, but you're actually taking the medicinal marijuana to save your life. Shout out to his offensive tackle who retired. Can't remember.
For the Jaguars. Monroe.
Yeah.
No, was it Monroe?
It was Eugene Monroe.
Yeah, it is Eugene Monroe.
Yeah, because he played for the Ravens, too. He
Yeah.
was a first-round pick. He retired because it's like, yo, there's more to my life than this. And a lot of cats use it.
I mean, on 420, Bleacher Report did a whole thing with a bunch of former athletes. Matt Barnes, like...
Ryan Sims. Sean Smith. He used to tackle, play for the Kansas City Chiefs.
And that's my other big issue with this whole thing is, like, they all know it happens, right? They all know that their players are smoking weed. It's like, it's pretty much the don't ask, don't tell. Like, hey, as long as you pass this drug test, you're good. But if you don't, we're going to fuck you. And that's the issue.
Choice of words.
And that's the issue.
But ironically, that's a sad situation of it.
And that's the issue is because, like, you know it goes on. And when you get caught, you're, like, surprised. And then you condemn them and crucify them. And if they keep doing it over, you just kick them out the league. When we know, as you said, people need this to play this unnaturally violent game. So it's either these unnatural synthetic painkillers that provide a bunch of other side effects, or this natural
some street drugs.
This natural plant that may or may not have some psychedelic effects and may be addictive, but you can't die from it. And really, all the symptoms are sleepy, hungry, and
makes you feel
better
good.
mood.
It makes you feel good, or it gets you going.
Yeah, so
it's like,
much.
I'm throwing up.
Pretty much the NFL's full of shit, as we already knew. And they're just going to keep being full of the same shit instead of allowing some change and some progress and leading the way.
And they're in bed with the pharmaceutical industry, so there you go.
They're just going to be late to this, like they always are. And shout out to Mike James for at least trying to, like, do things on the table and do it the right way.
Yeah.
Instead of just hiding in the shadows, taking the easy way out. But hey, man, as we know with the Kaepernick situation, you got to play by the league's rules or you're out. So he's probably out. He's probably done. Hopefully he has some side ventures or
somebody saved up. Shout out to Rashad Mendenhall.
Has a nice car to drive Uber or something. And
shout out to Rashad Mendenhall, who's a writer on the show Ballers, and they cover opioid addictions on that show. And he had similar problems when he was with the Steelers and the Cardinals. So
don't forget,
he got out early though.
It was only a few years ago that the NFL settled their whole
concussion suit.
No, not even the concussion suit. The painkiller suit before this concussion suit. Yeah. Because they were just giving players in the 70s and 80s painkillers like nothing.
Yep, uppers and downers.
And in the 90s, they're giving people experimental painkillers that aren't even allowed in the country anymore. So,
yeah, stuff that the
NFL needs to get off their moral high horse and stop acting like they know what's best for everyone because they really don't give a fuck. Period.
They need.
Sorry for my language.
I like this new Pete. I like this Pete right here. Like, this is the old Pete that I missed. Where it's like it's not just me arguing against the man, the system. There you go.
Okay, no, I just argue with you. You're the man. You're the system that I argue against because your takes and your can't just be out there. So someone has to hold you accountable. It's only me and you. And if no one wants to call in, then it's got to be me. So here I am, the contrarian one. That's not good talk radio. If I disagree with you,
you could just be indifferent.
Exactly, which I usually am, and I usually pick the opposite side against you. But in this case, I'm not indifferent. I have a stance, so I'm sharing it.
I'm proud of you for that. Clap it up for yourself, man. You deserve it. You deserve a clap. proud of you, son. I'm proud of you, son.
Yeah, touchdowns with Tangents Radio. I think that's probably